we are going to examine the Entity Framework Core command line tools associated with the .NET Core command line interface. Now, we showed you how to implement EF migrations, updating your database structure associated with Visual Studio 2015 and in the NuGet Package Manager console. If you don't want to use Visual Studio and you're more familiar and more comfortable with the command line associated with Windows or in Mac OS X or Linux, you can associate these similar commands inside of your project. All you have to do is go to your project structure and implement these commands. This is what we're going to examine to associate inside of our Course App project. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to come down here and we need to find our project. So if you have a Visual Studio 2015 project, you'll double click it, which we have Course Project Final. We're going to go into the source, then we're going to go in the Course Project Final. And for you to implement your different EF core commands associated with the .NET CLI, you need to be right here inside of your project. So wherever you have the migrations folder, your project.json, you need to be in this directory for this to work. So let's go over here, and you see my path right here. Let's copy this. And now let's open up PowerShell. You could do this with the basic command line, but I want to just open up PowerShell. So let's go CD. So I want to go to this directory. And I'm going to just paste where I was at, which is going to my user profile documents, Visual Studio 2015. And right there, I'm where I need to be. So I'm in the source file, my course project final. So right now, what I can type is .NET EF and see what populates. As you can see right here, it was previously compiled, and it's showing all the different commands associated with Entity Framework .NET Core CLI 1.0.0 Preview 2, and it shows you all of the different items you have associated in this command line. You have the database commands, which manage your database. You have commands to manage your database context types, and you have migrations, as we performed previously, to associating different migrations for different versions of your Entity Framework Core contexts. So this is a very nice way, and some things you can implement here. If you want to learn more about some of the commands, you could put .NET EF-H for help. And it gives you kind of a breakdown of all the helpful commands as you have right here. Or let's say, for example, you want to look at the database commands and you need some help there. You could put .NET EF database -H. And it will give you all the help associated with the database commands. So it gives you all as far as drop, update. You can also look at help for your DB context. So you can come over here and say DB context -H. And it will show you all the DB contexts to associate the different types. So there's a few little commands you can see right here that you associate inside of your project. One thing you can do is you can list all your database context lists. So let's expand this a little bit more. And let's put right here from our DB context, let's say list. So we want to list what type of DB context we have inside of our project. It associates with the entity's application DB context. So this is listing all the different items to associate with our database context. We can also come in here and instead of doing DB context, we can do migrations list to see all of the different migration versions we have. So as you can see right here, we'll see the previous migrations we have with my first migration and my first migration 1, which we did previously. You can also come in here and update your database with the database update command. So what we want to do here now is add a migration to associate with our project. So since we're CD'd right there, let's do .NET EF migrations add, and in this case we're going to add a new migration. So let's say first migration 3. Once we have that, it will be compiled because the input of the last build. So we have our new migration. If we wanted to remove this migration, it says right now to undo the action, you would type the command .NET EF migration remove. And so before you update the database, this is a way to remove that migration version that you want to associate right there. So then from there, what do? We say .NET EF database update. So right now it's compiling it from the last build. It's saying it's successful. And now we have all of that. So now let's go over here. Remember to the .NET we have here. So we go .NET EF migrations list. And look at all the different migration versions we have. As you can see, the last one we put is for first migration 3. So this is the last item associated with the migration we have. So then we can come back to our folder right here and we can look at the migrations to associate right there. So those are our different migration versions associated to our command line interface. That is what we're building to associate with the .NET CLI and the different migration, database, and DB context commands we have associated inside of our project. I will create a document associated with the different .NET EF commands that we can implement it, so you'll have a reference to the different commands you can associate via command line. This will be very helpful down the road when you want to implement your own context and you want to implement the different commands associated with the .NET CLI and scaffolding and implementing all of the different references to your Entity Framework core contexts.